Joins us right now to talk China, Russia, and the latest on shipping disruptions in the Red Sea. Evelyn Farkas, Executive Director at the McCain Institute. She served as Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Russia, Ukraine, and Eurasia in the Obama administration. Thank you for joining us. You want to go straight to space, Evelyn? Let's talk about it, because I think there's a lot of questions about what the Russians are doing in space. Is there some kind of nuclear warhead that they're trying to put in space, and what are they even thinking, and what should we be thinking?
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, like Joe, I wouldn't get on an Aeroflot airplane either. But when it comes to space, Vladimir Putin puts his best engineers to the task. And unfortunately, what we're hearing does cause me a lot of concern. I worked the Russia portfolio in the Pentagon at the time. We were already quite alarmed by what Russia and China were doing in space, putting nuclear weapons into space. I mean, they could really blind us, not just in the military context, but obviously in everyday civilian life as well. So it's incredibly destabilizing because we have no way to counter this sort of attack, and we don't know what the likely, pun intended, fallout would be. And
what is the thought that it has to be a nuclear bomb in space? This is to knock out satellites for the most part. And why would it be nuclear? Why wouldn't it be something else?
Well, I think the idea would be with a nuclear explosion, you could get a detonation that would stun, in effect, a larger amount of satellites than you could take out with a conventional weapon. So it would be kind of indiscriminate, like a carpet bomb in effect. And that's probably a technology that they became interested in as they saw the proliferation of smaller satellites that we in the U.S. have developed and deployed, most notably for the Russians, for use in Ukraine. So they're trying to, have a counter military effect to these small satellites.
And dare I ask, there is nothing we can do on the other side of this? Meaning in terms of our own version, what would our version of deterrence be? I mean, typically, we build a nuclear bomb, somebody else builds a nuclear bomb and that the fact that both of us have them does something to prevent them from going off.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, the first thing you try to do is prevent the Russians from doing this. So I think the administration has gone public because this clearly would be alarming to the Chinese, to the Indians who are also in space, to any commercial company that has space assets. And so they're trying to put diplomatic pressure on the Russians to stop, because it seems that they have not yet deployed this capability, and maybe it's not even fully tested. So that's the first step. If that doesn't work, of course, we know from history that what we try to do then is counter with a similar technology. But I don't think it's in the interest of humanity, or really the United States, to develop an expensive, truly dangerous weapon that would just take the arms race and the dangerous nuclear standoff we have with Russia, China, and others to space.
This is going to sound almost callous because it's a business question. There are a lot of businesses that have satellites in space. Who would be the most at risk if you were a business person or an investor thinking about this?
Well, of course, any satellite company working with the United States. So if you are a host to a U.S. government, whether covert, so undercover, or open U.S. government, satellite, I think that would be the first target for the Russians. But again, these commercial satellites, you want me to say Elon Musk, don't you?
I don't want you to say anything. I was just, I thought you might say Starlink, but I also thought there were probably some defense companies and others that have been putting things into space.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to name names, but clearly any company that's hosting or deploying satellites for the U.S. government is at risk, and Starlink, frankly, is at risk because we know the Russians are deeply upset at the capability it gives the Ukrainians.
And I know we're over time, so I just have to ask this really quickly. They're going to play us out, and I know your politics as well, but let me just ask, in terms of a response, a reaction, we're seeing what the reaction is from the White House. We've also seen somewhat what might be a reaction if former President Trump were the president. How do you think that were to change the dynamic, if it would?
I can't underscore how dangerous it would be to have President Trump back in the White House. And leaving my politics aside, I run the McCain Institute. We have on our board Mark Esper. He was the Secretary of Defense under President Trump, he has warned the nation that this man is not worthy of, I mean, he's incapable of looking out for the U.S. interest. In fact, it's the contrary. He would actually put the United States in a really dangerous position because he either doesn't understand the threat posed by Russia or he doesn't care.